Hello and welcome to Spelkult. Today we have taken a look at an unpublished game sent to us by Tanel Kapp, New World Order, which is a game about a world that have collapsed already and now different roles taken on by the players, like the Illuminati, the philanthropist, the Bilderberg group, the globalist, etc. They try to rebuild it in their own image and gain as much point as possible doing so. There are 8 different roles in the game, and they are supposed to be distributed randomly. I've set up the game for 2 players, the banker here and the philanthropist here. They each get a starting hand specified on their cards. So, how does it work? The game revolves quite a bit around this pyramid of cards, which probably just looks like an explosion of colors, but this is actually a pyramid of square-shaped cards. In the bottom we have a 4x4 square, and on top of that we have a 3x3, a 2x2, and a single card on top. And we as the players are supposed to buy these cards. So this card costs 200 money to buy. And once we've bought this card, it will make the 4 cards underneath it released. And if someone buys this card for 600, this card for 250 is released. So as long as there are other cards on top of the one you want to buy, you cannot buy it. So you need to eat the pyramid from top to bottom. And this is the main goal of the game. So how do we do it? How do we get the money, the funds, to acquire these cards? Well, each round we deal 13 of these cards, and this is the largest chunk of the game. This is the deck, and while I'm at it, let me remind you that this is an unpublished game, so the production of this is homemade. If it's supposed to be released officially at any point, all the components may change, just so you're aware of that. This is handmade by the designer himself and sent to us. So 13 of these cards are laid out. I've taken the liberty to put multiple copies in batches, because what we really have here is a set collection game where you want to collect as many copies of the same type of card as possible. So when it's your turn, you can choose one of several actions to do. The most common action is to simply grab one or more cards of the same type. So if it's the philanthropist's turn, for instance, he or she might grab the 3 PharmaCore cards, and as a coincidence, PharmaCore is also one of the starting cards for the philanthropist. By accumulating more cards, they are worth more points. So now that I have 4 of them, they are worth 500 money, all in all. So it's great. If you do not grab cards from the general supply, you may use 1 or 2 of your stacks, pay them, discard them, and buy a single card here if you have enough funds. You will not get any change back, so you want to pay as closely to the amount as possible. But there's also another catch. If you look at the cards here, in order to pay for a card, you need to have at least half of the series possible. So for instance, here with PharmaCore, the 2 first slots here are slightly darker, and that's because as long as you only have 2 cards, these funds are locked. You need at least 3 before you can use them to actually pay for something. So if you grab those 3, you have 3 of them, which is great. So that's worth 300 points. Of course, not all cards are created equal. So if we compare the PharmaCore with the Nanotech Lab, you see that there is a much steeper increase value for the Nanotech Lab. But on the other hand, you really want to collect all 4 of them, because 4 cards and worth 1,000 points is really, really great. The most expensive achievement cards here cost 1,000, so it's really, really good value for your money. Okay, so you can grab, you can buy, you can also discard one of the slots you have, or the cards in that slot, in order to free up space, because in a 2 or 3 player game we have 7 slots available to put cards in, and a slot can only contain card of one specific type. You can only have copies of it there. You cannot have multiple different types of cards. So if you have no free slots, you may want to discard something that you see no future in because you don't have more cards of that particular type or so. Or you can simply pass. When you don't have any more meaningful actions to do, you pass. The first player to pass get the first player token and will be the first player to act next round, which means that when you deal out 13 new cards here, he or she will be the first to have a pick at the juicy collections here. Some of these cards are not corporations at all, but are simply action cards. So for instance, blackmail. No, sorry, this was play immediately. When we grab 30 new cards and this is exposed, then it's triggered automatically. But there are other cards that lets you do things. For instance, take another turn, or you can steal corporations from other players and such. And these cards will simply occupy one of your slots as usual. The game ends when these pile of cards, when the deck of cards has run out, or if the players have bought all of the achievement cards here, in which case it's time for the end scoring. These achievements cards, most of them have 2 different colors on the corners. And this is also important because there's an additional set collection. You see there are a bunch of cards which I placed outside the pyramid here. There are 13 different colors, and if you manage to collect 3 cards with the same color, so this is for instance 3 red cards, then you can grab the greater achievement, in this case the cybernetic organism, which is worth 500 extra victory points. On top of that, all the roles have another goal. So for instance, the banker gets 200 extra victory points if he or she manage to grab the greater goal of totalitarian dictatorship. So every player will try to grab the colors that they have an extra bonus to get, of course, during the game. So very, very easy rules. No problem. It's easy to teach to someone who has no prior experience of board gaming, and it was also one of the set goals for the designer that it should be a a game without complicated rules and just for the initiated gamers. And in that respect, I think he has succeeded because it's simple. So what did we think? It's a completely okay game. It works. It plays in 40 to 50 minutes, I think. I think it's slightly too much based on luck. I didn't have that much of a decision dilemma. Quite often it was very, very obvious what you were supposed to do when it was your turn. Some of these stacks of cards were much better than the other stacks of cards. So it was a little bit, are they still there when it's your turn? We didn't experience it was that much player interaction when you grabbed each other's collections. Quite naturally we sort of collected different things, all of us. So perhaps we played it a bit more friendly than it was supposed to be played. I don't know. But it was slightly a bit solitarish, if you know what I mean. But it was an okay game. And if you're interested, you can go to the Board Game Geek page for New World Order. There are some videos and you can discuss and find out for yourself. Thank you.